There is only one thing that truly matters in life. One question that we all need to answer. It's not, are you rich? It's not, are you successful? It's not even, are we alone in the universe? It's one simple question that none of us can hide from. It's, are you happy? When we are young, we are all naive. We all think money is the answer to our problems. As a society, we've become obsessed with what we see portrayed in the movies and on social media by the world's top influencers. We begin to think that this made-up fairy tale in a movie or an influencer only displaying their best life is what success and happiness is supposed to look like. This leaves us in an endless loop of comparing ourselves to something that's literally not even real or attainable. A fictional life of characters being played in the movies, or influencers only showing a small fraction of what their life is really like. It leaves us in a constant state of FOMO, a constant state of thinking we are never good enough. But there are two sides of this story. Influencers are constantly feeling the pressure like they have to continually outdo themselves, outdo the competition, outdo the outrageous, leading them further and further away from being who they truly are, until eventually, they are left portraying a glamorized, created persona of their once true self, leaving them feeling lost and alone. And the consequence of this, it leaves the audience feeling like they are being pushed further and further away from happiness and success ever being attainable. It's an endless chaotic loop that is damaging to the human race, leading both the rich and famous and the audience to both end up at the same exact place. A depressive state feeling like our lives are never good enough. And this is why society and social media is currently fucked. Why the deterioration of mental health is increasingly becoming a worldwide epidemic. So how do we fix this problem? How do we change the mindset and vision of what happiness and success looks like? How can we be happy? We do this by beginning to shift our focus to 4 simple things we actually need to be happy, rather than focusing on the material things we think we want, because social media has ingrained an image in us that these are the things that will lead us to happiness, and it's all one big fucking lie. My name is Cameron Fous, and I've been on both sides of this problem, and I've always hated that question. Are you happy? Because for 35 years, saying yes has always been a struggle for me. This is my life story. This is my road to iconic. Ever since I was a little boy, my dreams have been big. I wanted to reach for the stars and be able to touch them. And just like every other young adolescent, I had one goal in mind. One vision of what big dreams meant. What happiness meant. It's get rich by any means necessary, get my dream car, and live the lifestyle of the rich and famous you see in all the Hollywood movies, and now in today's world portrayed on social media by the top influencers showcasing their best lives that one could only dream of. Do this, and all of my life's problems would be solved. That was my plan, and I knew exactly how I was gonna do it. The stock market. I attended Oregon State University in 2003 to get my degree in finance, so I could enter into the corporate world and become a stockbroker. I was your class act college kid, broke, binge drinking 3 to 5 days a week, drinking $1.75 40 ounces because that's all I could afford, mastering my drinking skills in beer pong, beer bongs, you name it. You could say I was basic as fuck. But life was a lot more simple back then. I wasn't poor, I wasn't rich. I came from a middle-class family with parents who loved me and supported me unconditionally, despite being in and out of jail for assault charges, DUI, and many drinking citations before I was 21. One time I even woke up in a jail cell and I had no idea how I even got there. Blacked out and wasted, panicking and slamming on the cell door, crying and demanding to know why I was here, and fearful of what happened. They wouldn't even tell me. The guards would just yell back at me, "You know why you are here," which made me even more scared. Having to call my mom and dad at 3 a.m., crying hysterically, explaining to them that I'm in jail. and I have no idea how I got here, let alone why, and that they need to come bail me out. Of course, being the loving mother that I have, she drove an hour to come pick me up with no questions asked. I was a troublemaker. I hated authority, and I hated people telling me what I can or cannot do. But despite getting into trouble all the time, my life was way less stressful back then. Why? Well, it's quite simple. Social media didn't even exist yet. All I knew that if I was rich, my life would be 100 times better. And that's what my goals were. Get rich. But at the time, I actually didn't even know that a stockbroker is literally just a cold calling salesman, which was not something I wanted to be. I just saw movies like Wall Street and Boiler Room and was fascinated by the rich and fast-paced lifestyle of becoming a stockbroker. In 2004, my great uncle had passed away, but he did leave my family and relatives with $500,000. And being the fancy object chaser and car enthusiast I was, my mom helped me buy my dream car with some of this inheritance money. It was a 1997 BMW M3, which was actually a salvage title car that I found for $10,000 on eBay. If you don't know what that means, a salvage title is basically a piece of shit car and was totaled. So buy it at your own risk. But I felt like I was on top of the world. I was a freshman in college, I had a beautiful girlfriend who I loved deeply, and I was officially driving my dream car. You could say life was going pretty good and stress-free, but I was still a broke college kid, so in my eyes, my life problems were nowhere near to being solved, and this was clearly not my idea of happiness. But in 2005, my aunt got a stock tip that would change my life forever. It was a pre-FDA approved biomedical company working on God knows what drug, but if you just buy this stock now, you will soon be rich. Guaranteed, no questions asked. The classic get-rich-quick fantasy that so many of us naively fall victim to every day. But at the time, I was barely living off of $400 per month child support that my dad was ordered to pay by the courts after my parents' divorce. And I was falling deeper and deeper into student debt with college loans. At one point, I racked up over 10 overdraft fees in a row unknowingly on my debit card, going negative $400 in my bank account, which also meant I would have no money for the next 30 days after paying all these fees. I was so fed up with being this broke. I remember sitting in my stupid nice car with no cash to fill up the tank, thinking, this is not my life. I deserve more than this. I have to do something to change this now. So what did I do? I sold my car so I could have some money to invest in the stock market. I made that sacrifice of driving my dream car that was portraying this fake image of success and begin my career on my own while I was still in college. I thought to myself, this is it. This is my chance to get rich in the stock market. I'm not going to wait another 3 years until I graduate. The time to start is now, and I'm going to become a millionaire and finally be happy. So you're probably wondering, what happened with this biotech stock? Well, I bought it. So did my girlfriend. And so did all my extended family with that $500,000 and anyone else who caught wind of this stock tip in our greater circle. The thing is, we bought the stock at $4 and it quickly moved to $7. So the get-rich-quick schemes seemed to be working just as planned. Until one day I woke up at 6 in the morning to see where this stock was at today. The stock ticker in bright red said 52 cents, nearly negative 90%. I rubbed my eyes off, still foggy and half asleep, thinking, this has to be a mistake. But no, the company issued a statement saying that their drug trials had failed. And just like that, $500,000 was wiped out in a single day. This was my first really scary moment in the stock market and realization of how dangerous it can actually be. Lucky for me though, I had sold that stock just weeks before without telling anyone in my family or even my girlfriend for a profit. I had gotten bored watching it. I wanted to learn that fast-paced life of trading stocks that I saw in the movies, not this boring buy and hold crap. I thought I was clever, but the fact is, I continued to lose money in the stock market for the next 3 years of my life trying to learn how to day trade. You could say I may have had a gambling addiction or a success addiction. You be the judge. I was also still obsessed with money and living with the notion that getting it was my only road to happiness, and the stock market was still my only chance of getting there. And after a lot of drinking and a lot of trial and error, I finally started to make money in the stock market. By my senior year at Oregon State, I had figured it out. I started to make money consistently trading. I had also been writing a trading blog for 2 years, building up my reputation as the go-to technical analysis-based trader online to follow. I had become one of the top 5 traders in my niche and had gained a pretty significant reputation and traffic to my website. But also, in the middle of all this, being the young, naive, drunk party animal I was, I learned a very important and valuable life lesson. I broke the trust and honorability of my relationship with my girlfriend. And I learned that breaking someone else's heart does not come without consequences. It also breaks your own heart, especially because it was a stupid drunk decision. I cheated on her, and through the grapevine she found out, and I'm really not proud of it. I remember coming home from class and seeing her car in my driveway. Mind you, we lived in different cities that were an hour apart, so to see her car there unannounced, my gut was twisting as I knew this was the end. I knew she had found out. It was one of the biggest mistakes of my life. She was actually the only girl I ever dated that I saw marriage as a potential part of our future. But I also think part of me wasn't ready for this serious of a relationship. I wasn't ready to get married. I was only 21. So we continued dating for a few weeks, trying to work things out right before she was getting ready to go on a college trip to Lake Shasta. I told her I loved her and I'll see her when she gets back. But that was it. She left. I broke our trust, and that was the last time I ever saw her. I like to think there are 2 types of people in life. Those who grieve in sorrow and carry the weight of their mistakes as poisonous regret on their shoulders, or those who look at their mistakes as the most powerful lessons in their life and use them as building blocks to become a better man in the future. Your mistakes are what give you wisdom. Your mistakes are what give you strength. Your mistakes and how you react to them, that's what define you as a person. At this point, I'd basically stopped going to all my classes, and college started to seem like more and more a waste of my time and life. I was spending all my time mastering the stock market. My cousin was stationed in the Air Force in Boise, Idaho, and worked downtown at a bar called the Main Street Bistro. As he knew I was fresh off a breakup, he invited me out for the weekend where I had a ridiculously awesome time. Instantly, I was brought into a whole new network of friends. And within a week, I was like, fuck it. I packed up my shit and moved to Boise, Idaho. It was the fresh start that I needed. Also, just to get away from my ex-girlfriend's network of friends, and it was impacting my ability to focus on my goals and affecting my personal life. I started out as a security guard at this bar making minimum wage, but I worked my way up over the next 6 months to become a bartender at the bistro. And in fact, until this day, it was one of the most fun and fulfilling years of my life. I was part of a family at work. We got paid to party, and I absolutely loved bartending. This was when my life really started to become spontaneous. Do whatever the fuck I want life with nothing holding me down. But I also had to make one of the most difficult decisions of my life. Drop out and go all in day trading and start charging people for access to my blog? Or finish my degree with 1 year left to graduate at Boise State and go into the corporate world with my original dream of becoming a stockbroker? What do you think I chose? I chose the high life path of becoming an entrepreneur and a day trader. I launched my business at 23 years old in April of 2008 and got my first taste of some big money. I made $30,000 in 30 days. You have no idea how mind blown I was. I was like, what the fuck? I'm this party animal bartending college kid with a mohawk, and people from all over the world just paid me $30,000 to hear what I have to say about trading the stock market. So to celebrate, I figured it was time to finally move to a bigger city. So I packed up again with one of my bartender buddies, and we moved to sunny San Diego, California. And it was arriving in San Diego that I realized the first pillar of happiness. I realized the significant importance of frequent and natural sunlight. There's something called seasonal affective disorder, aka SAD, where depression is linked with gloomy weather. And after growing up in Oregon all of my life, where it's clouds and rain 9 months into the year, it was literally mind-blowing how much my mood increased when I started living in a city where the sun was always shining. How much more motivation I had to be active, to take care of my body and health, and all around, just feel better about life in general. But there was one big problem. I had no idea that this defining moment of excitement in my career choice and path would continue to deteriorate my mental health every day for the next 12 years and not have a clue why or how to fix it. I chose my why for getting into my career solely as money. My purpose in life was to make money. 5 months later, in August of 2008, we saw the biggest financial meltdown of our time. Banks were shutting down. Entire industries were collapsing. Families were losing everything, and hearing suicide in the news was becoming more and more common. I was falling apart, both mentally and physically. Only 6 months ago, I pulled the plug on college to go full-time on day trading and start my trading education business. From being on top of the world to full-blown meltdown. I nearly blew up my 4th trading account. My business was completely dead, and absolutely no one wanted anything to do with the stock market, myself included. I had absolutely no idea how to handle this new volatile market. The Dow Jones swinging back and forth over 1,000 points all in the same day. I couldn't trade it. Nobody could trade it. And slowly, I was losing everything all over again, just like I had done 3 times over the course of 3 years in college. I had never been so scared in my life about my future. I couldn't see light at the end of the tunnel, just darkness and uncertainty of my impending complete and utter failure. So I did just about what everyone else in the finance industry was doing. I got a side job again as a bartender downtown San Diego to make ends meet. But I hated my job. I hated my boss, and eventually I got fired for showing up late one too many times. I literally sat at the bar and ordered a beer, debating what the fuck am I gonna do with my life? Until, obviously, my boss came up and said, "Cam, what the fuck are you still doing here? Get out." This was by far one of the lowest points in my life. My business was dead, trading was dead, and I just got fired from a job that I hated. But as with all things good and bad, they usually don't last forever, despite what we currently think when we are actually going through them. And fortunately, the financial meltdown didn't last very long, and before I knew it, things started accelerating faster than I could possibly imagine. That December, I made $50,000 in a month trading while I was back home for Christmas at my mom's house in Lake Oswego, Oregon. This was my first major month where I was making someone's yearly salary in a single month. And of course, I didn't leave empty-handed. I picked up a brand new BMW 7 Series and had it shipped back to San Diego. Then, I had a $70,000 month trading. And that same exact month, I did over $100,000 in sales with people signing up to my trading course, banking me nearly $200,000 in 1 month. I was on cloud 9. I didn't expect any of this. And on top of that, I was running my company solo with no employees. So at this time, I literally had 0 overhead costs. I read a quote recently that read, "Fast success builds ego. Slow success builds character." And no doubt, I was coming into success fast. And I started to fuel my ego in every way I possibly could. First, let's go buy myself a supercar. Maserati Gran Turismo MC Sportline? Check. But of course, I'm also gonna need a blacked out SUV if I wanna fit in Southern California. Range Rover? Check. And what's success without a gold Rolex? Check. Penthouse condo on the San Diego bayfront? Check. But I'm seeing lots of boats out on the water. I think I need a $100,000 wakeboard boat to go party on every weekend. Check that off the box too. At this point, I started to get bored, and I continually felt dissatisfied. And I had always dreamed of getting a classic car. So How about toss a 1968 Resto Mod Camaro into the mix? Check. I had too many cars, I had to start renting out my neighbor's parking spots. I was caught up in this vicious cycle of buying anything and everything I could. And I'm not gonna lie, it was fun as fuck in the beginning. Having this newfound success and the freedom to buy whatever the fuck I wanted and to be able to afford it all. On top of that, the more stuff I bought and the more I posted on YouTube and Instagram, the more attention I was getting and the better my business was doing. Such as renting out one of Pablo Escobar's mansions in Medellin, Colombia to work for the weekend day trade from. And also make a video about it with my day trading team. And of course, throw in some Colombian models while I'm at it. The more I portrayed this persona and image I had created, the more the money continued to roll in. Then came out the infamous movie, The Wolf of Wall Street, starring Leonardo DiCaprio depicting Jordan Belfort's story, of which I had read the book years prior. So I thought, this is the perfect opportunity to shoot a video for my trading company, rent out a yacht, and throw a Wolf of San Diego yacht party and film the whole thing. Yes, it was just like the movies. Booze, cocaine, Molly, girls everywhere, and of course, with me at the center of the attention. I think this was probably the peak of my douchebaggery moments in life and really falling victim to fast success and getting ahead of my ego. I was turning into the Dan Bilzerian of my time before I even knew who Dan Bilzerian was. While living in San Diego, I continued to get caught up in the party scene. Drinking, cocaine, and Molly somehow started to become an every weekend thing. I couldn't get away from it even if I wanted to. Someone I was with always had cocaine, always had Molly. I remember telling myself, I'm not gonna do any drugs tonight. But of course, after a few shots, I just couldn't get myself to say no, when everyone else was also doing it. And the consequences were dreadful. A weekend out would be followed by a 2 to 3 day hangover. Sometimes I would only get in 2 to 3 solid days of work because my hangovers were so bad. But even with all this stuff and this lifestyle that looked like I had everything I could possibly imagine, the life I grew up dreaming of, the life I saw in the movies and on social media, I was living it. I had it all, but I had to ask myself, am I happy? And the answer was no. And I didn't fully understand what the root cause of it all was. I was doing all this quote unquote fun stuff, but I still felt lost, alone, and confused about what to do with my life, with my career, and with my future. Do I just keep buying bullshit to post on social media? Continually feeling like I have to do something bigger and better every week to live up to my name? To live up to this pressure I felt as a social media influencer and YouTuber? Is that what my life has become? Is that the purpose of my life? I had created this persona so far away from who I truly was, all in the name of money and my naive vision of success and happiness. It was the first time I had to truly question what happiness really means and how to achieve it. Because clearly my continuous attempts to buy my way into happiness was a dead-end road with no hope in sight. I felt stuck and I had no exit plan, but I knew one thing was for certain. I was unhappy and I couldn't continue going down this self-destructive path. In 2016, I watched a video by Gary Vaynerchuk based on the notion of documenting versus creating, which completely changed the trajectory of my life. It was based on the idea of how so much bullshit was being displayed on social media, how so many people were flexing and creating a persona for social media and continually reaching burnout or depression because it's just not sustainable or authentic, as opposed to just documenting your real authentic self, being who you are, and inviting people in to see the real you, your struggles, your failures, as an empathetic human being and providing as much value to your audience as possible. I felt like he was literally speaking directly to me. I was the bullshit he was talking about. I needed to hear this. I needed someone to tell me I didn't have to play this character anymore. But the most important message I got out of all of it was that we have one fucking life. Do what you love. And I started to think deeper into my life and career. I had everything I ever wanted. why wasn't I happy? What was the root cause? And it came back to asking myself why I got into day trading in the first place. What was my why? Was it for love and passion of the game? No, it was solely for money, solely for the dream of getting rich. Did I love making YouTube videos, traveling, cars, and everything luxury? No fucking doubt I did. But the root enabler of me having all these things and creating this life was not backed by passion. I was burnt out. I didn't love what I had to do to keep this life going. In fact, I hated to talk about day trading. I hated to day trade. I hated if someone asked me what I did for a living. My career and life were fueled by stress. The external rewards that were created in my life were by doing things I didn't truly love doing. And passion for your career is one of the most important 4 pillars of happiness. My why for my career was external rewards, not internal fulfillment. You see, most of us base our future happiness on the things that we want, such as money, cars, fame, and material goods, aka the external rewards, leaving us forgetting about the things we actually need to be happy. Realizing I was missing passion in my life and career was the first step of my transition from solely pursuing financial and material rewards to pursuing a life and career of purpose, happiness, and internal fulfillment. A life I could truly be proud of. I was 32 years old. I felt like I had made so many mistakes in my life and wasted so much of my time pursuing the wrong, falsified dream that society portrayed to me as the means of happiness. But I also finally felt some relief of this pressure I was feeling, this burden I was holding on to and hiding from everyone. I felt like someone was finally telling the truth on a large-scale platform and calling out everyone's bullshit. I finally felt like there was some hope for me and something to actually look forward to. But I was also still living in San Diego, still partying, still had all my toys, still drinking and doing drugs every weekend, and still spending half my work week in a hangover-induced depressive state. For probably 6 months straight, I didn't work on a Monday because I just simply couldn't get out of bed. I didn't want to do this anymore. I didn't want to be part of this. I didn't want this life. But not too shortly after my mindset began to change, something amazing happened to me. I met a girl who would play a critical role in helping guide my transformation. She was a Colombian American who had been traveling the world full time for nearly 2 years already, working remotely online as a yoga teacher and just so happened to be passing through San Diego. I instantly gravitated towards her. And traveling was something I always found myself feeling the most free and smiling the most. I knew there was something special about our first encounter, something about looking at her, something about being in her presence that made me want to change, made me want to finally just be me and stop living this life that I had been wanting out of for so long. On the first day we met, our first date, we went to yoga, lounged at my pool on the San Diego bayfront. She met my mom and all my friends because we threw a barbecue at my condo. She even ended up moving into my condo, all on day 1. Was it all rushed? 100%, of course it was, but everything felt so right. She was the outlet I needed. She didn't really drink or party and wasn't part of this lifestyle that was destroying my life. I literally latched onto her for dear life and did not want to let go. We went to Mexico City together for New Year's, ate the local street food in Colonia Roma, and took a hot air balloon over the Teotihuacan pyramids. We went to Colombia together to visit her family in the beautiful mountains of Medellin and stayed in some of the most amazing condos overlooking the city. During our travels, I decided I didn't want to be in San Diego anymore, that I was going to move to Miami, Florida, where I could be closer with Mike and Robert, who were both former trading students and now helped run the trading business. I needed some change, and this seemed like my best option at the time. Focus more on work and less on partying in San Diego and just start my life over. I needed a reset. I needed to change my perspective again. I went to Miami for a week and met up with Mike and Robert, searched high and low for my new home, checking out different luxury apartments, including looking for a new WeWork office for the team. Eventually, I found the perfect apartment. I signed a lease at the 5-star Kimpton Hotel overlooking downtown Miami. It was an amazing apartment, but something was wrong. I wasn't excited, and this didn't seem like it was the right transition for what I needed to be happy. My gut was telling me, do not move to Miami, Cameron. Do not move to Miami. And if I had learned anything yet in my life, it's that my gut is always right. So I called my girlfriend and asked her what she thought about me selling everything I own and us just traveling the world together. She was all in. So I flew to Massachusetts to her mom's house where she was visiting to discuss her plans and where we were going. First stop, Thailand. All of a sudden, I had never been so excited about my life and my future. How excited I was to sell everything I had accumulated, get rid of all my cars and all this weight and pressure I had been carrying for so long. I finally felt a taste of happiness that I hadn't felt in a really long time. I shot and created a vlog called The Pursuit of Happiness is a Selfish Road on my final day in San Diego. I had to be selfish. I had to let down my team in Miami to do what was right for my own well-being and my own happiness. I literally cried like a baby throughout the entire vlog, but it was tears of relief, tears of happiness, tears of hope for a better future. I was finally taking the first steps that so many of us struggle with. Those first steps to get out of our comfort zone, to change our lives for the better when we feel so stuck. Like we don't have any exit plan and are scared about what's on the other side of the unknown. I'll never forget showing up in Thailand, showing up at our amazing villa, seeing my girlfriend who was already there waiting for me, seeing this insane view overlooking the ocean of our infinity pool, all on the island of Koh Phangan. I truly wish I could go back in time and relive this moment. I had never felt so free in my life and so excited about my future. It was pure bliss. We continued to travel all over the world as I ran my business and day traded remotely, living a life I never imagined possible, staying in some of Bali's most amazing villas in Canggu and Ubud, all while enjoying the natural beauty of the country from the monkey forest to the incredible hikes in the jungle. Roaming the colorful streets of Lisbon, Portugal, the surreal castles in Sintra, and the record-setting waves in Nazaré. Staying in 5-star luxury hotels in Bangkok, getting caught up in the biggest water fight in the world on Khao San Road, to dining at the 7th best rated restaurant in the world with a full menu based on emojis, feeling on top of the world in the suites of the Ritz-Carlton Hong Kong, and the amazing views from atop of Victoria Peak looking over the city, to long nights out in Barcelona with old friends, and finally seeing La Sagrada Familia in Spain. We even got hired by Playboy as luxury travel hosts for a new TV series. We shot episodes on our own private island off the coast of Colombia, a luxury hotel in downtown Medellin, helicopter rides over the Hollywood sign, a private tour at the Malibu Wine Safari, and the last and final episode we shot at the Playboy Mansion. Our lives were insane, but there was still a major underlying problem that was burning inside of me. I was still stuck in this career that wasn't fueled by passion, stuck in the stock market game, living on the other side of the world, working on New York time, sometimes staying up until 3 or 4 in the morning because I worked on the US stock market terms, not my own. The stress from this was bleeding into my life and also into my relationship. So I began the planning stages to start a new company around what I actually spent most of my time doing, what I actually loved doing. And that was running an online business, creating content, marketing, and just being an all-around entrepreneur. This was a game I loved, a game I could be proud of, a game I wouldn't be annoyed to talk about if someone asked me what I did for a living. This was a game I was actually passionate about. But slowly, my relationship with my girlfriend began deteriorating. And after 13 amazing months spending literally every waking minute together, our relationship came to a close in Cape Town, South Africa on mutual terms. The funny thing is, we actually popped a bottle of champagne to celebrate the ending of our relationship that our Airbnb host left for us, and then we went out and casually had a few drinks with some friends. I like to say we packed a 3-year relationship into one. Due to the amount of time we had spent together over the last year, we literally never left each other's side for over a year straight. But all in all, I think we both learned a lot from each other, made each other better for our future, and I am forever grateful for her relationship that helped me break down the walls that were locking me in a cage that I needed escape from. But our future goals were just not in alignment, and it was becoming counterproductive for both of us to stay together. It took a few days, but she found another place to stay in South Africa, and when the taxi arrived to pick her up, I held her one last time in my arms, and I told her that I loved her. Tears rolling down both of our faces as I think it was a bittersweet moment for the both of us, but a necessary ending of a story that would enable me to pursue the next chapter of my life with no roadblocks, and also allow her the freedom to write her own story. It was an eerie feeling being alone in this brand new unexplored city. I had never traveled alone, and my once best friend who was always by my side was now just gone in an instant. I took this time to focus on some self-reflection and plan out my next moves. One thing I noticed I was missing in my life was the second pillar of happiness, my physical health. When we are in relationships, we tend to get complacent. And when you become complacent, you lack progress. You lack caring as much, especially when they don't share the same interests. And while I loved my relationship, one thing that she did not support was my obsessive need to be a health freak and take care of my body and diet. Something I was previously so devoted to, but I had slowly slipped away from over the past 13 months, and I didn't feel good about my body, which was bleeding like poison into my mindset. While our minds control our bodies, it's our bodies that fuel and optimize our ability to maximize our mindset. So I dove hard back into my workouts and strict healthy diet routines. I really needed my head to be in a good space, so I focused on doing hot yoga and working out daily. The better I feel about my body, the better I feel about myself and the more confidence I have. The more confidence in myself, the more I'm willing to overcome my self-doubt, limiting beliefs, and pursue my dreams no matter who or what is telling me I can't. I ended up getting back into one of the best shapes of my life. I felt amazing. I felt like I was ready to take on the world and pursue my new career and dreams and start a new business. But I was still alone in this strange new country where I didn't know anyone, and I had no desire to go back to the USA yet. It was at this point I realized the third pillar of happiness I needed to work on to build a life of fulfillment, and that was focus on building more positive relationships outside of my now ex-girlfriend. Build relationships with people who I could learn things from. Relationships that wouldn't lead me back into drinking and doing drugs. Relationships that wanted to see me win and empower me to be a better man. Relationships that would help me achieve my new goals in life. The term, "your network is your net worth," is the most true saying that has ever been uttered. So I called my remote video editor Norbert, who was based in Budapest, Hungary, and said, "Bro, you want to come to South Africa and do this full time? This city is fucking amazing. And also, I want to shoot a new show where I interview other top influencers and entrepreneurs from all over the world and take them on adventures." Of course, he said yes, and within a few weeks, he was in Cape Town, South Africa. For the next 8 months, we traveled and interviewed other entrepreneurs from all over the world, building new relationships with people who were doing amazing things, people who were winning, people who I could relate with, and most importantly, people who I could learn from as I laid out the blueprint for my new entrepreneurship business. We started with the professional vegan athlete and bodybuilder Misha Janiek in South Africa, who was recently featured in the Netflix hit movie The Game Changers, learning more about his online business and his life as a vegan athlete. Then off to New York to hear my very own student's trading success story, Michael Spinoza, and take him on his very first helicopter ride over New York City to Los Angeles to hear the story of the millennial voice for entrepreneurs, Peter Voogd, as we raced around the track in McLarens and Lamborghinis, followed by the drifting lap where we literally thought we were gonna die. Then it was off to Bali to hear what it takes to be one of the top male model influencers in the world, as we took Johnny Edlin on a private catamaran tour around Nusa Penida Island, all while swimming with stingrays. To Phuket, Thailand to see the amazing MMA gym, aka Thailand, that former UFC legend Mike Swick had built while he took me through a brutal MMA style training session. And finally, to London to hear the story of a high school dropout turned social media agency millionaire with Iman Godzi, as he gave me a rundown of his daily routine in London. I'm friends with all these people today, and they have expanded my mind, body, and spirit. Leveled up my mindset, and every person I interviewed, I learned something valuable to implement into my life and business going forward. In November of 2018, I was living in London, and I decided I had finally had enough. At this point, I had been day trading 5 days a week for 12 years straight to keep this glamorous lifestyle afloat. But it was time to stop. Time to quit. Time to release this toxic relationship I had with this career. I decided to fully stop trading and focus on the trading business as an entrepreneur and start planning my exit from the industry. It was a scary moment for me. For over a decade, I had always been known as the day trader, a legend and an icon in an industry with millions of people who have watched my YouTube videos from all over the world. Strangers coming up to me in the streets of every city I would go to worldwide saying they watched my trading and travel videos, how I inspired them, and how they wanted to become a day trader. I would always say thank you, but deep down, I just felt guilty because I had no passion for this career path anymore. But I was also deeply scared of changing careers. Would people accept my new career path? I had built a massive audience on social media in a very targeted industry and would just drop them all and basically be starting my life and career over. And also to tell my team at Iconic Traders, hey guys, I'm done. I don't want to do this anymore. I don't want to be part of this. What are they going to think? They had a leader that did not want to lead, a leader who did not want to be the face of the company anymore, a leader who did not even want to talk about day trading or even create content about day trading anymore. And this was not good for the business or anyone in it. While it was an adjustment, it actually ended up working out in our favor. With me out of the day trading game, we started to churn out more six-figure months, setting a new record with a $145,000 month with my business the same exact month I quit trading in London, followed by a $106,000 month to kickstart 2019 in Cape Town, South Africa. In February of 2019, I moved to Bali, Indonesia, where we set our 1 week revenue record of $83,000 in just 7 days. It had now been 2.5 years since I left the USA, in a new city almost every month. While this had been an amazing experience, I learned so much about myself, so much about the world, stepped so far outside of my comfort zone and expanded my mind to places I never thought possible. It was also exhausting. Living out of a suitcase for 2.5 years is no joke. I needed to stop, and I needed to settle somewhere where I could fully focus on my exit strategy and begin building my new empire and my new future. Things were finally starting to turn up, and I started feeling more confident than ever. So I started to build out my new program that I call the Iconic Entrepreneur Blueprint. Everything I've learned about creating content on social media, marketing automation, running an online business, entrepreneurship, and being true to yourself and seeking a life of fulfillment and purpose. Everything I learned in the past 35 years of my life, of mostly mistakes, but it's our mistakes that shape us into who we are. Bill Gates once said, "Success is a lousy teacher." And he's 100% correct. It's our failures and how we react to them and learn from them that defines who we are as humans and our ability to become icons. Overcoming adversity, overcoming our deepest fears, overcoming our biggest failures and still being able to win in the long run. The problem is, so many people look at failures as their end game. They think, I failed, I'm done. It's the I can't mentality. I have a tattoo on my chest that says, "Success is walking from failure to failure with no loss of enthusiasm." It's a famous quote by Winston Churchill. This is what literally keeps me going in life, what gets me out of bed in the morning, as most of my life has been the wrong decision. It's been failure. Most people have the naive notion that success is a straight path, when the road to success is actually 90% failure and 10% learning from those failures about what actually works. Most people give up during those 90% of mistakes and failures and end up living a life of regret. A lot of people ask me, what would I do differently if I could go back in time? But I wouldn't change anything. I believe regret is poison, and that you must embrace your mistakes and let them empower your future. My mistakes have given me wisdom. They have shaped me into who I am today. My mistakes have made me a better mentor. My mistakes have empowered me to be of better service to the world and those who are seeking my help. In August of 2019, I went live on YouTube to finally and officially announce my retirement from the day trading industry. 14 years of my life I dedicated to this business. While it wasn't all bad, I will say it provided me with some of the most amazing opportunities, and I learned so much about life and business. But at the end of the day, it was a toxic relationship, and it had to come to an end. Retiring was the final step to relieving myself from this burden and weight I had been carrying for so long, finally allowing me to fully pursue a life and business I was passionate about that gave me purpose, a life that I could look forward to.
So, the big question is, am I happy? Well, that's a pretty complicated question because happiness is not a destination. Happiness is a pursuit, and it's a journey. And unless you have something to look forward to in your life, that pursuit and that journey, it's not fun. And for a while, that journey wasn't fun for me anymore. And that's why I didn't feel happy. And what I do have now is clarity on what happiness means to me and what I can actually do in my life to actually enjoy the pursuit. And I had life backwards, thinking that if I just got success, if I got rich, if I got material goods, that was going to be, the pursuit of that is where I thought this destination of happiness was going to lead to. And I was 100% wrong. My life philosophy was totally backwards. And it's something that a lot of people struggle with until they get there. And then they find out it's all bullshit. And that's what I found out. And that's why I wanted to make this video. And that's why I'm starting my new company, because I want to help people shift their mindset to what actually happiness is. And it's basically just a lot of unhappiness is an imbalance of what people think they want in their life to get happy and what they actually need to be happy. And for me, clarity on finding out what those 4 things are, which I call the 4 pillars of happiness, which is passion for your career, positive relationships, your physical health and taking care of your body, and icing on the cake is sunlight. Having clarity on that and understanding that those are the things that actually give me internal fulfillment, and that's what I need to focus on, and everything else will fall into place. That's what gives me happiness, is having clarity on that and waking up with something to look forward to and being able to enjoy this pursuit of happiness, because that makes me feel good and I know those things make me happy. And I promise, if you shift your mindset, if you shift your focus to these 4 things, it's going to make a dramatic increase of positivity and your ability to wake up with something to look forward to, especially once these 4 pillars start getting fulfilled and you start fulfilling your needs as opposed to fulfilling your wants, because you can never enjoy the wants if your needs aren't fulfilled. And that's what unhappiness comes from, is not having your needs fulfilled and people thinking that your wants, such as material things, are going to buy happiness. And it's just 100% false. So right now, I just kind of wanted to summarize again what those 4 pillars of happiness are and how you can start implementing those into your life. So pillar number 1 is passion for your career. And this is by far, I think, the most important pillar of happiness, and one that is very difficult for a lot of us to do correctly. Because when we're young, we all think when we want to get a career, it's like, okay, which one is going to give us the most money? Because we all think being rich and being successful, that's what happiness is. And while being rich can provide a lot of opportunity, it doesn't mean happiness. There is a shitload of rich people out there that are not happy because doing something you don't care about equals stress. No matter how much money you're getting paid, in the long run, if there's no internal fulfillment, you're gonna get burnt out, and no amount of money is gonna buy your way into happiness. And yeah, it was fun in the beginning. When you first come into money, it's great. You're excited. This is fun. But long term, the fulfillment is not there. If there's no internal fulfillment and you're working for external rewards only, and there's no internal rewards that you're getting out of the work you do, you're gonna burn out. And that's exactly what happened to me. So you have to really think about, why do you want to go into this career? Why do you want to start this business? Is it for getting internal rewards, or is it for the external rewards? The goal in life, the goal of becoming an iconic entrepreneur for me, is to get paid to fulfill internal rewards, because that's what makes you feel good. If you're working to get paid to buy external rewards, or you get external rewards for the work you do, you're left with nothing. You're left with no internal fulfillment, and you're left feeling empty. And that's why the term money doesn't buy happiness was manifested by people who thought money was going to buy their happiness. And they all failed and realized that's not what life is about. Life is about motivation, right? If you don't have long-term motivation for what you're doing, if you don't have passion for your career, the competition is going to outdo you. Somebody's going to have passion for that same career, and they're going to stomp your company into the ground. They're going to stomp you into the ground. And that's just what's going to happen in life. So you have to really focus on finding a career that you're passionate about. Careers are kind of like relationships. Getting married is hard, right? That's a big commitment, and it's easy to be infatuated with something in the beginning, not realizing that there's no long-term fulfillment out of this relationship. And that was something that I had to go through with my career as a day trader. Is I was infatuated in the beginning, but I wasn't in love with the game. And so you got to test. You have to really start thinking about, is this something I can see myself doing long-term outside of how much money this career could potentially provide for me? Pillar number 2, which is probably one of the biggest reasons why people are unhappy in their life, is relationships. So many people have toxicity in their life, and a lot of that has to do with the people in your life, the people who you're surrounded with. And obviously the term "your network is your net worth" is a very popular and very repeated term, and it's because it's 100% true. The people you hang out with, that's going to be the biggest influence in your life, whether they are positive, negative, neutral, bring a bunch of bad habits into your life, or what have you. And if you don't actively seek out new relationships that can continue to build you up, you're going to continue to be complacent with the relationships you have. And a lot of those are toxic. And a lot of people continue to spend time with people that not necessarily are purposely bringing them down, but they are bringing them down. Like a lot of my relationships in the past, while they were amazing relationships, they're still some of my best friends, but some of those habits that they had, whether it be to not take care of my physical health, or whether it be being around a bunch of people who everything that we did for fun had to do with drinking or doing drugs. That doesn't mean I don't love these people. It doesn't mean that part of that relationship wasn't great for me as well, because it was a great friendship. But those habits were killing my life. They were killing my motivation. They were killing my happiness. They're killing my ability to function and actually run my business. And as opposed to me continuing going down that road, I decided to leave, because that was the easiest option for me to get this toxicity of the habits that were bleeding into my life and affecting my life. Sticking around in that same environment was damaging to me. And so I had to actively either leave or actively seek out new relationships that could actually build me up. And so many of us get stuck with the same similar situation, where the relationships and the habits that our friends or our colleagues or our parents or our girlfriends or our boyfriends have bleed into our life. And that affects our ability in our motivation and just our overall goals, because we stick around because we're in a comfort zone. So you really have to do an important audit on the people in your life, because a lot of those people aren't helping you, and they're maybe, you know, not purposely, but part of them is selfish because they want you to endure in their habits to make their life better. But you have to ask yourself, is that making your life better, or is it making your life worse? There's 7 billion people on planet Earth, and of those 7 billion, only a small fraction you're gonna connect with on the deepest of levels. So you should never give up in actively seeking out positive new relationships that can help you reach and attain your goals. Pillar number 3 is your physical health. Now, this is something a lot of people overlook because it takes a lot of discipline to take care of your physical health, to be able to go to the gym, 3 to 6 times a week and do it with effort and do it on a continuous basis. And even if you're working out, for 4 weeks straight and all of a sudden you take 2 weeks off, it's like you just gave up that whole 4 weeks of work for nothing. And so it's not an easy task, but it's one of the most important tasks that you can implement into your life because it's so essential for the most important thing for your success. And that's confidence, right? When you work out, it's one of the most natural and best antidepressants that you can possibly do. If you're in a bad mood, you can work out, you're gonna feel better about yourself. It actually releases endorphins in your bloodstream, into your brain, and releases chemicals that make you feel better. It's just fucking science. It's how it works. And it's while our minds control our bodies, it's our bodies that fuel and optimize our ability to use our mindset to the maximum ability, right? If you feel good about how you look, if you can, work out consistently and you go home, you take your shirt off, you see yourself naked, whether you're a man or a woman, and you have confidence, you're like, okay, I'm doing good. I actually look good. I'm happy with what I see. Even as hard as that is for everyone, the happier you are with the person you see in the mirror, the more confidence you have. And the more confidence you have, the greater and tenfold ability you have to create opportunities in your life, whether that be in relationships, whether that be in job opportunities, whether that be just having the balls to fucking go for it in situations where you're scared or uncomfortable, not knowing what's gonna be the result. The fog of war of running a business, the fog of war of asking a girl out on a date when you don't know. Having that confidence is a huge game changer in your life. So if you're not working out, if you're not making that the number one priority of your day, you are making a huge mistake. Because I promise, if you don't take care of your body today, you're gonna be forced to take care of it later, and it's gonna have something serious to do with your health. And that's not gonna be fun. So always make your body a number one priority if you wanna maximize your ability to use this and increase your confidence. Pillar number 4 is literally icing on the cake. It's something called seasonal affective disorder, AKA SAD. And growing up in Oregon for the first 20 years of my life, I definitely felt it, and it's not fun. And you feel like, okay, this is just how life is. And that's what I thought. I was like, oh, okay, it's gloomy outside, it's raining, I don't want to go do anything. It's less motivating to go work out, less motivating to go do anything active. And growing up in that, you feel like that's just normal. You feel like this kind of like lackluster motivation is normal. And it wasn't until I moved to San Diego that I was like, what the fuck is this? Having this constant sunlight on me and just being out there was just a dramatic game changer for, my physical health, my mental motivation, my entire mindset. And when you fulfill the first 3 pillars, putting sunlight into that mix is literally icing on the cake, and it maximizes all 3 of those pillars. And literally, I'm in Paris right now. It's 35 degrees, it's cold, it's raining. I've been here for 3 weeks and I fucking hate it. It sucks. I don't like it, even if this city is supposed to be cool. It doesn't make me feel good to be here for this long in this amount of sunlight, or lack of sunlight, when I'm so used to, I literally have traveled around the world for the last 3 years, chasing summer everywhere I go. Now, that's not to brag, it's because I know how much better I feel mentally, how much better I feel up here, and how that's gonna translate into me performing better as an entrepreneur, better as a man, better as just a business owner, and the people around me and the relationships that I have. So if you're stuck in a city and even stuck in relationships that you have right now that you don't like, and you want to just leave and get out, because honestly, that's one of the best things you can do. It's literally out of sight, out of mind, and you want to go start over. You should definitely look for a city such as Southern California, Florida, freaking South Africa, Bali, anywhere that's the most consistent sunlight, and consider moving there, because I promise it's gonna be a huge game changer, especially if you fulfill those first 3 pillars of happiness. So listen, the reason why I made this video is because I needed to figure out what my why was. Why did I want to start this new business? Why did I want to help people avoid the same mistakes I did? And it's because happiness is all we have. That's the only question we need to answer, and that's the only thing we really need to fulfill in our life. And I made a lot of mistakes throughout my life, thinking what I thought happiness was and what that path was to get there. And I fucked up. And the whole reason for me starting my new business, Iconic Entrepreneur, is to help people find clarity about what they actually want aside from money. What's gonna actually give them fulfillment, and how can I help them create a business that's based on getting paid to fulfill internal rewards and have the external rewards just fall into place and actually be able to enjoy those things, right? I want you to be able to buy the things you want. I want you to be able to buy your dream car, but actually be able to enjoy it. Unlike me, where I bought a bunch of shit and I was completely unhappy. I was depressed and I really didn't know why, and I didn't understand like the meaning of life, right? So you have to ask yourself right now, like, are you happy with what you're doing? Are you sitting there scrolling through Instagram or YouTube or watching movies, comparing yourself to all this bullshit out there because you see all these material things being portrayed as this is what happiness and success is, when the reality of it is a lot of those people aren't happy. They're posting this stuff on social media just like I was to fulfill a fantasy that wasn't real. So this is like my day one. This is my pursuit of happiness. This is my why. This is my why for starting this company, so I can actually help people. And I want this to be your day one. I want you to step out of your comfort zone, step out of your box of bullshit that you've been having all this turmoil in your head, lacking clarity about what you want out of life. So that's what I want to help people with. I want to help people become icons. And if I could tell you one thing to get out of all this, out of this entire video, it's this. It's successful people aren't happy. Happy people are successful.